Yeah.
Okay, officially recording, and I know we do have a few more ladies hopping in here. So there are late people, our late arrivals. So, but y'all, I'm excited. This is Tonya, and I want to tell them really quickly because a lot of people here were out of line, and so Tonya was the mama
Oh, okay.
that had her son there with her, and I saw
Yes.
what you posted today about him finding finally his path that he wanted to go down with school. And I thought, which is why I was like, I need to just ask Tonya if she could come tonight. It was because that post I saw, because I just, y'all were the cutest and the sweetest at a line. I loved seeing you
Thank
guys
you.
together. And is he married?
He is married. He got married at 20.
Wow. Because I saw you say
Very,
something
very
about
young.
wife. And I'm like, wife, wait a minute. He looks like a baby.
Yeah. And she looks even more like a baby.
I got married at
But
19, so I can't say anything,
you got married at 18?
19.
19. Wow, that's awesome. I love to hear those stories now because, of course, I can relate to them. When they first came to me and it sounded like they were going to get married, I was not, I had to go catch my breath. I was like, what? You know,
Yeah.
but the more, I really had no thing that they were doing that was representative of me feeling like I needed to put the brakes on for them. So I said, yep, you go for it. They have a really good foundation. They're beyond their years. So they're gonna have an
Well,
amazing
and
marriage.
we're about to hit our 19-year anniversary. So it
Wow.
obviously worked out.
Yes, yeah. And I know many people who wait till they're 29 and 30 and it doesn't. So
Yeah. No
it's
matter
really not
what.
about age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, friend, you are welcome to take it away.
Okay, I will do that. And welcome and hello to everyone that might have seen me online. That's awesome. For those of you who don't know, Align is an amazing self-development event and women's event, really. Well, I thought it spoke more so to what we as women would relate to. I did bring my son. Um, but I will say, I just want to say that I left that event and I picked up some healing coaching from one of the speakers, Alejandra. And if you recall who she was, I highly recommend. It was an incredibly life-changing experience to coach with her. I just finished last week or possibly the week before. I have to think about that. Um, and it was worth the weight in gold. Like it was an amazing experience. So might want to think about that if you were there. I'm going to start off telling my story and then I'm going to dive into my tidbits of what I have learned that I think will most benefit you. Of course, there are many things along the way, but I'm going to pick the two things I think were most beneficial. And before I get started with my story, I just want to throw this out there. If there's anybody new on here or when you're coming to listen to this as a recording, and you might be newer into our Plexus business, just understand that my story is extremely unusual. You probably will understand that just listening to the story. But in case you're new, I don't want you to give you the impression that something like this could happen to you or it's like the norm of our community at Plexus, because it's definitely not. So I started in 2013 and my entry into Plexus was from the business side. I actually went through a major life um, issue. I had a medical issue and it was devastating for our family and it was life-threatening for me. So when I came out of that, I had a totally different perspective. I wanted to make sure I was around my children and my family 24/7 and didn't miss a beat. I was only 32 when I got my medical diagnosis. So it really hit home very hard on what mattered to me. So I said a prayer about the things that I wanted, wrote that prayer down. Literally a week later, somebody spoke out network marketing to me as if they were reading my prayer journal. So it was very, very profound. I spent about 3-4 years looking for the right company. And I was actually about to take a vice presidential position with a company when Plexus was laid in my lap. And I knew based on the circumstances and what was happening at that moment that this was a strong yes immediately. I didn't, with all the other companies, I like ordered product and so forth. I didn't even do that. I saw the testimonials at this company and I knew this is where my life needed to have purpose to help other people. That was very, very strong purpose for me. And it's important to understand that connection because therefore, when I got started, I walked into this business and actually had somebody to sign onto the business with me before I even knew how to sign up. That was not because I had tons of friends. I did not. In fact, I only had 2 friends left at this point in my life because I kind of hid myself in a corner when I went through my medical diagnosis. I was in a bit of a panic mode. For this went on for about 4 years, and it felt like the rest of the world kept going and I was basically in stop mode, just getting treatments. So I cut everybody off. It was not a very smart move, but needless to say, I didn't have a lot of friends when I started Plexus. And so I actually ended up reaching out to business associates that I had had in my prior industry. And that's what I had to start with. But because I came with so much belief that this was where my life was meant to be and it was God driven, there was absolutely zero hesitation to get out there and start talking to people. This is not something that you have to wait around for or say a prayer for to have happen. And what it equates to is a very, very high level of belief. Mine just came through this particular circumstance, but it amounts to the same thing. I walked into this with nothing but 100% belief. And that's what poured out of me. I approached people not only about the products, but I approached them about the business. And I did so very boldly. And I said, you have to do this. Literally said that to people. Now, hindsight, what it is, I look back and I work with my team ever since, and they're all nervous about it. And I'm like, that was actually pretty unique of me to do that. And I didn't even realize it because all I knew is I was responding to what I knew was in my heart. And I didn't even think about being afraid that people would judge me, or that, I don't know, I've had people say things to me like, well, what if they don't get the same results, or if the products don't work for them? And all these fears popped up. Like, none of that was there for me. So let me share with you what happens when you let all that fear go, because I'm kind of that example. It never actually was there. Every one of the people that I approached, which was only 5, by the way, because I had such a limited network, all 5 of them signed on, and 3 out of the 5 started sharing the business like crazy immediately the first month. The 4th person had remarkable results on the product within about 3 weeks. She was a very severe Lyme sufferer, but she was nervous about sharing. It took her about 4 months. She was the longest one. And the 5th one ended up dropping off. She lost 13 pounds her first month, did great. She was very young, 18 years old, and she just dropped off. Because I had such high belief, they ran with that belief, and they also showed up from day one without carrying that fear around. I was like almost a powerhouse in terms of my belief, and they pulled from that. And by month 4, I had 87 people on my team, and I still had only signed my original 5 because, again, I was just so limited. I wasn't on social media at the time because I didn't want to interfere with my other industry. And after the end of my 4th month, I went onto social media and I really blew up my team. I had gone to my first leaders retreat and I actually learned how to do the business. And I came back with the knowledge of the processes. And from there, it was like an unstoppable snowball because you had belief and knowledge of processes, and it blew up. So I ended up going Emerald in 9 months' time, which was phenomenal. I didn't really have too much to compare it to, but I thought it was phenomenal just because I didn't know you could do something like that in a network marketing company or any business. I've actually been an entrepreneur since 1999, so I'm very familiar with what it takes to build a business, and going to a 6-figure income level in a new business is just not normal. So it was pretty shocking, and it was amazing. The downfall that I'm going to turn to now, this is the part that is not very common in our business, is I ended up realizing I was on a team, an upline team, that was fairly toxic. That's a very good way to put it. They were pretty toxic people. And they actually, my little sister signed above me. And so she signed up to the person above her, and all the line up there, she didn't actually know who they were. It was a random sign on. So we didn't really have that relationship, and come to find out they're pretty toxic. Long story short, I was a level 3 to a diamond who was uh, recruited to another company with a sizable bonus, and her upline level was a diamond. They were best friends, and there was enough income promised to them, which our incomes here at Plexus, so that had to have been a really huge number, for them to say, yes, let me do that. And in so doing, they strategized like recruiting as many of their Plexus people to go along with them, because that's what makes sense to them. So I was Jewel for 5 months, and most of my team opted to go with her because it was such a powerful draw, since she was a diamond. So I lost diamond rank 5 months later, and or I lost jewel rank, sorry, 5 months later, and I worked my tail off and brought it back in 4 months. That was huge because I lost about 70% of my team. It was very crushing emotionally, but I was not going to let this go away. So it brought back to Emerald in 4 months' time. About a year later, we had a back office snafu. Some of you may know about this. Oh, thank you, Kelly, for smiling. Yes, we had, it's much more than just a snafu. The end result, well, first of all, I will say when it first happened, it was crushing for a lot of people who that was their first hiccup. Because I had already had a hiccup, I actually said, heck no, I am not even going to pay attention to this. Like, it is nose to the grindstone. I am moving my team in a positive direction, and we are going to grow. I am not going to let this distract us. And that's a lesson in and of itself. It's how you respond to what is happening outside of you that allows you to persevere and rise above. And one of the ways that you need to respond in all cases is to focus on what you can control. That's a very important statement. Focus on what you can control. So in this situation, what was out of my control was a technology error with our company in our back office that was causing customers to be overcharged and so forth. And it really ended up being a bit of a disaster for everyone in the long haul. I persevered through that and focused on just all the things that are Plexus and the processes. And my husband and my level 1 went Emerald in March. So the snafu happened in October. They went Emerald in March. I had loads of endless rank advancements on my team, and things were going pretty smoothly. Regardless of how much effort any of us at Plexus put in, by May, so this was 2 months after these two go Emerald, by May, it just takes a ripple effect through all of our teams. And basically, in a nutshell, everybody lost a lot of ambassadors because the negative impact of that IT issue was so vast that it caused people to lose belief in what our company was doing for us and so forth, and whether or not this was really a good company, because the IT technology issues were so bad. So a lot of us lost, many people. I lost over 1,000 points again. So I went from staring Sapphire in the face all the way down to 1,200 points. I was about 2,500 when it happened, went all the way back down to 1,200. So if you think about this, guys, I had to grow to Jewel the first time in 9 months. Then I got Jewel taken away from me by my diamond uplines 5 months later. One year later, we have a snafu, and push through. But within 6-9 months from there, I have to respond to my team responds to it the same way everyone else does. We crash, I lose all those points again. I ended up losing my level 1 jewel. I had another jewel that was above my sister. She ended up no longer being with us. And by the way, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this, but that jewel was actually more of a challenge to our team than the diamonds that got terminated. She was very toxic. I'll just leave it at that. So she actually was around until 2016, which means I was in the business for 3 years with her toxicity over top of my team, working against that to still build my team. She ended up terminated, and so did my level 1. Emerald ended up terminated, and that's how I was. Well, the level 1 definitely impacted my numbers going down, and I had to rebuild again. So that is 3 times I had to rebuild back due to outside circumstances. So I emphasize that because I know a lot of you show up every day and you're doing the things. And so here I go. That's a good portion of my story. The rest of it is I battled back and I'm a Sapphire, and I'll be Diamond. The goal is February of next year, at the very latest June 1. But I know a lot of you show up every day and you're like, I'm doing the processes. I can't figure out why I'm not growing. I sign somebody and they have belief and then they lose belief. And there's this feeling of, I think I'm going to go. And then all of a sudden I'm not going to go. That's my story without it even being my own effort up and down. Like I wasn't even able to control all that because of so many outside circumstances. And my message to you is, number 1, take the time clock of when you think you need to feel your success and throw it in the trash. Throw it in the trash, because that's what's really working against you. When you see the climb and the fall and the climb and the fall, or you go too many weeks without signing somebody, or you sign a whole bunch of people and nothing happens from that point forward, and you're scratching your head like you can't figure this out, what you're really up against is the expectation of when you feel you need to see the results. You have to see something happening positively, or your ego, which tends to be your safety mechanism in your mind, is going to play against you as a protection. It's going to say, see, more evidence of failure, more evidence of failure, more evidence of failure. And then that's how people, they stay focused on the failure because of some of that, and they get lost in that and give up on themselves. If you throw away the time clock, you can look at the failures differently. You can look at them and say, that's okay. It's just part of the journey. It's just part of the journey. And in this moment, I'm going to choose to look for things that are positive that are happening, and look for things that are lessons out of the failures that I can take with me and change how I am as a leader, improve how I am as a leader, so that eventually I'm getting more and more and more successes and less no's and failures, because that is exactly what's going to happen. Now let's talk about the time thing for just a minute. People get hung up on the time thing because of what I just mentioned. Your mind is like, does this really work? Does this really work? Or you can be thinking yourself, man, good things have never come my way. Or I don't really believe I'm capable of something like this, or capable of achieving things. I've never been good at this, et cetera, et cetera. That's working against you, but also it's comparison. We look around the company and we say, well, that person made it to Diamond in a year, 6 months. We have those examples. We have Brooke Hemingway, who is a 7-figure income earner in 5 years. And maybe you're in 5 years and you're only a Ruby. That can really pull you down when you're focused on the time issue. But instead, if you turn it and start saying, I'm not going to care about the time. I'm going to care about what I can control to change who I am, to become the leader I need to be, and master the processes so that at some point I can be where I want to be in this company. And if you will commit to that, instead of worrying about the time, you will eventually get the success you want. Perseverance is king in this business. Besides the things that happened to me on, the story that I just shared, I want to tell you guys that you might look at those people who go fast and say, well, what's the secret sauce? What do they have? Well, what I have observed is most people who go fast are put together a little bit superiorly, if you will, in the area of self-love and loving other people. This business is it's everything relationships. I was going to say it's so relationship oriented, but really it's everything about relationships. In order for you to have good relationships and pour into other people in a really beautiful, loving way, you have to be able to love yourself first. And with your own love, self-love, comes self-confidence, courage, boldness, and the ability to stay calm, even-keeled, and lead your team well. Well, if you show up to this business and you watch other people on cruise control and you can't seem to get it right, odds are some of those things are what is working against you. And that's exactly what it was for me. I came from zero love. Neither one of my parents had any loving relationship with me at all. I was essentially abandoned at 9 years old. And when it came to this business, I thought I could treat it like every other business. Do. But this is a very unique business. You cannot show up here and just think you're going to master processes and everything else will fall into place. It ends up being this long journey of self-discovery and self-improvement and self-love that allows you to then be able to love your team well, love your prospects well, love your brand new customers well. And when you can show up in that very calm state of mind, you are going to see success in your business. If you're not there automatically, that isn't something that is innate in who you are, that process ends up being what takes you so long to up-level your mind, up-level your heart, till it reaches a place where you become an amazing leader and you will feel it. This is also why time needs to be taken off of the table, because the time that it takes you to get from wherever you are right now to where you need to be is never going to be the same as the next person. But I assure you, based on the fact that I had to go through a really long season of this, I'll be 10 years in the business by the time I'm a diamond, which you can do the math. I'm in it 9 years, just went Sapphire in March. The self-development journey that I have gone through is very faith-based, and it is worth 1,000 times more than my paycheck will ever give me. You will get to the other side and you will realize that gift that this journey gives you is far greater than the money will ever give you. It's a really beautiful, it will impact everything about your life, all your friendships, your husband, the way you are with your children, in a really, really positive way. So perseverance, throw the time clock away, get into commitment with self-development and actually doing the work behind the books that you're reading, behind the events that you're going to. It's another lack of connection I think people have is they go to the event and then they go home and maybe put the workbook into the table and never think about it again. You have to go to the event or read the book, go home and implement what you're learning and commit to that. And here's the word you need for this: compassion. Have grace, patience, and compassion for yourself. Do not shame or judge yourself, because that will work, it's opposite. And if you can show yourself some compassion and say, hey, I'm not as whole as I need to be, but I will get there. That's what will keep you on that track. I'm pretty much done. The only thing I want to say to you guys is this is a very faith-based company. Some of you may know that already. I don't know where anyone on here falls where faith is concerned. I was actually an atheist till I was in my 30s. So that was not natural in my history. And in 2015, I allowed the faith that I saw here to influence me in a very big way. And it was the best thing I could have done. Picked up a Bible for the first time in 2015. And so between the perseverance and everything else I said, I really threw myself into faith. And I encourage every one of you to do the same. Not trying to push religion necessarily, but it's been an incredible journey for me. So I really appreciate, I would do that, but it's just my little tidbit. So that's it. Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, you guys know I tell them this every week, but they never do. But you guys are always welcome to unmute yourselves and ask questions or put it in the comments. And I apologize. I have my daughter's cat in my office and it's like spazzing out right now. So if y'all hear like crashing, her room flooded. So for those that missed it, so we had to move her animal in my office. But no, so much of this, like, I mean, you hitting on personal development, and personal development, I think, comes in phases, like seasons where you're like, I have got this. Like you read that thing or hear that thing and you're like, I finally got this. And you realize the importance of it. And then all of a sudden it's like things start creeping in your mind again. And those things that like hold you captive take over and you don't even see it's happening. And then you got to recommit to it. And so it is an ongoing process. And it is so priceless though, because who you are when you start is not who you're going to be when you end. And I know so many here know this. I mean, we've all talked through this before, but it is such an important element of this. And then I love when you said love people well through this, because it really will transform your mindset. Like, I don't remember who I was talking to about this the other day. It was one of y'all, and Genevieve says this all the time. She says, if you are struggling in your business, spend a day just in gratitude. Just thank people for being a part of your life, be it Plexus, be it friendship, be it church, anything. Spend a day just being grateful for people and thinking of the positives in your life, and it will completely change where you're at. That like negative Nancy that's taken over will just go out the door, because you know where your heart is at and those things that you're doing truly affect like the way that you respond to things. And then
can I interject there just a little bit? I should have said this. I should have put this as a note, actually. It's become so normal for me that I don't even think to train on it, which is sad. But it's like breathing to me. I get up every morning and do 3 minutes of gratitude. And gratitude, I ended up finding out, seems silly. I should have known it all along. I'm a smart girl. I have a college degree. I've had other successes, but gratitude ended up being the secret. If you want a secret sauce, that is what it is. Whatever is going on every single day, focus on, I mean, literally, if you lose every single person on your team, stand up that day and go, but I still have my products. I still have the opportunity. I can go rebuild, and like, just be happy about that. And gratitude brings in all the other goodness. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. Sorry, I had to say that.
No, I mean, and it's so true, because so Tonya and I were talking earlier today, because I mean, y'all know my story. Like, I went Emerald in 2016 and it was right before the system switch over. And it like my team, I lost like half my points. Yeah. I went so far backwards, and it's so easy. And it doesn't have to be a drastic situation like that. I mean, it can be the littlest things that become these portals to us and hold us back. And so I think if you can like pause and think, okay, but what do I still have? Like, my team may have gone backwards, but I still had a senior Ruby paycheck. Like, that was life-changing income. Was it what I wanted it to be? No, but it was life-changing income. I still had tons of amazing people with me, despite the fact that I lost a lot of people that I thought were going to stay with me. Like, you could be on day 1 of your business or day 5 million of your business, and there's going to be good things and bad things. And so it's like, you choose what you focus on, because that's going to determine where you go from there. And so I just love always, like, and everybody knows, I love bringing guests in here, because no journey is this perfectly pretty little journey of everything fell into line. And even Brooke freaking Hemingway, we all love Brooke. That girl's amazing, but that she fought for everything she has, and she had hard times too. We all do.
Yeah, she just had, I told my team this not too long ago, and they were like, oh, really? And I was like, yes. She, as amazing as she is, about 2 or 3 years ago, I lose track of time what it was, but she had like 2 or 3 jewels leave her team. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I would kill to be under her. You're leaving for another, are you out of your mind? You know, but you don't know what other people are going through, and that's their choice. But again, it's how you respond. Brooke did not bat an eye. She was like, that's fine. I bless and release you, and moving on. So
It happens to everyone, and it truly is that grit and determination and perseverance and acknowledging this is what I do have and what I want from this and what I'm going to focus on to make that happen. And I think you kind of already answered this, but one question I did have was kind of how you help your team put blinders on to comparison and mindset issues and all of that. Like, is there a way that you kind of help your team continue to refocus on that? And I feel like gratitude's a big part of that, but
yeah, I actually do a lot of coaching and a lot of belief building with my people. And I'm a pretty strong type A, and I've been through a lot in my life, not just with what plexus is, but personal things that I've had to overcome. So I bring that to the table with kind of a tough love attitude. I love you, but this is BS. I don't say it like that, but it's kind of that attitude. Like, you're not going to sit here and make excuses when you are too amazing to don't let that get in your way. Mm-hmm. So I do a lot of personal coaching and with that tough love. And I also have become extremely good at asking questions. Y'all, this is so important. The first book that taught me this was John Maxwell's Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. It transformed my whole leadership in that respect anyway. I used to coach people and like talk at them, tell them what they need to do, go do this process. Nope. Now I get into a call and I ask questions and they respond, and I may expound on that. I always come back to another question because you got to pull out of them. What is the fear? What is the holdback? What's the roadblock? And then you have to listen really well, like not only listen with all your heart to what they're saying, but kind of be thinking like, okay, what's going on with her? And what's a really good follow-up question to help her see what's going on with her, help her pull back the layer of the onion of what's happening. Give you an example of last week's coaching that went really well. That would really help you guys to hear this too. Is she was apprehensive. She is a gal on my team who I coached to Senior Ruby she started last October. She went Senior Ruby in May. So pretty quick, pretty good there. And her issue is she has a lot of level ones that are already huge successes, couple of anesthesiologists, nurses, things of this nature. So she's all inside of her own head. And I said to her, look, you are a nurse. If you showed up at your nursing position and somebody was a customer or a patient, and your doctor and you as a nurse told them exactly what they needed to do, and they just said, oh, well, that's interesting. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. Like, well, I'll take it into consideration. Thanks for sharing with me. Like, if you were a nurse in that room, would you settle for that and just be like, oh, okay, sounds good. No problem. We're here for you when you need us. And she's like, no. I'm like, correct. You would say to that patient, that's not okay. Like, listen, this is very serious. I know what I'm talking about, not in these terms, but that's basically how she would approach it. And she's like, yes, I would. I said, okay, well, you need to go into the bathroom right now and you need to get in front of your mirror and you need to say, I am a professional network marketer at Plexus and I am becoming an expert at what I do. And when somebody approaches me or responds to me and blows me off, because this is my business and I'm a professional, I'm not going to scurry away and be like, okay, sorry. Nope. I'm going to turn around and say, wait a second here. We need to talk about this further because I'm feeling like you're not listening or hearing me. And this is super important. I have something that is going to be of incredible value to you. So hear me out and step back into that, because that's what you do when you're a professional business owner and you own what you have. She did that, and she got a girl who agreed to a coaching call, and the girl was completely jacked up when she got done with this coaching call and sent her messages like, that was amazing. You did so much for me. I'm going to start inviting right now, blah, 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 blah. And of course, this gal, the senior Ruby, screenshot all this and sent it to me. So sorry, that's kind of a long-winded answer, but it comes down to having enough self-empowerment that you can empower others. That's what shifts. You have to become a vision caster. You have to ask good questions. You have to show up with major belief and boldness so that you can pour that into them and they can believe in themselves and what they're doing because of your belief in them, even if they don't have it. And that literally works. And as they go out and be bold, like she did, she probably did that pretty scared, but she did it. And next time she does it, she's going to have a higher level of belief in herself all on her own because she just proved to herself that she's not going to fail. She told her ego, she gave her ego evidence that she can succeed. And you just keep piling that on and helping people to move to the next step.
Yeah. And I will say that through all of this, like nobody starts this feeling 100% confident in themselves. Nobody does. Like the things I've always heard over and over, which I still 8 years, 9 years, however long I've done this, have to remind myself to continue to build that. It's like a muscle, right? You have to continue to work it out or it's going to get weak. Trainings, affirmation, and practice. Connect with trainings to teach you how to do that. Give yourself those positive affirmations, reminding yourself that you can do it, and then practice it. And like you said, every time you do it, you're going to get stronger and stronger and better at it. And I don't remember who it was. We had a speaker not too long ago, or what, it was on something. It could have been Jim. Yeah, I don't remember who, but they said, you don't have to know the how. You don't need to know exactly how you're going to lead someone to success. You just have to have the confidence that you're going to make a way. You're going to do it no matter what. Right? Mm-hmm. You're going to figure out the rest. And it's
do it scared.
Yeah. People follow confident people. You may not know all the steps and that's okay, right? Because you're not flying out on an island by yourself. You're a part of a community that has, the desire to help you in that. It's just a matter of if you have the confidence. So I love this. I always just take so many pages of notes. I love these. I love listening back to these. And, guys, if anybody has any questions, you guys know you can message Tonya. She's obviously great at answering messages because she responded like that to me. So I'm very thankful for you, and especially for giving us some of your time, because I know, time is precious and you have a whole giant team that you're leading. So
yeah, they're pretty awesome.
Well, thank you.
The practice is really important too, what she said. That's another tip that I constantly tell my team. They're probably tired of hearing me because I say it a lot. When you have to approach somebody or you're nervous about coaching or whatever, or what you're going to say, get in front of the mirror, or just even when you're I tell them when you're driving to work, you start talking out loud like that person sitting right next to you. And you just keep going on and on and on, practice exactly what you would say to them, the questions that you would ask them, and imagine them responding. And how are you going to respond to that? You guys, I was in sales for a lot longer before this. I was in real estate sales when I was in my 20s only. I became a top number 8 agent out of 400 agents inside of 18 months. This was one of the number one things that helped me to do that. I constantly puked out stuff that I was going to say, walking around my house, doing the laundry, driving to work, wherever it was. And I just kept saying it over and over and over till it just floated out of me. And that's what you can do here too.
Yeah. I still to this day send myself a voice message before I send it to somebody else. I'm like, okay, how do I want this to come out? I don't want to vomit on them, right? And so I'll practice to myself. And then when I feel confident, I'll message them. So it's just the practice.
I know it's getting late, so I'll wrap it up and say, Kendall mentioned that she lost half of her team, and you guys heard what I went through from that. That is no small feat for her to rebuild from that position. It is breathtaking when you are building something at the level of Jewel and you lose it, and then you have to show up with belief and prospect to other people that are strangers and bring them on your team page when suddenly there's not a lot going on. So just know that if she's sitting here today, rock star, because it's really hard.
Well,
Really
it's
hard.
all God. We all know it's all God, right? Like he has lessons for us and timing for us and all the things. And we're just along for the ride, but he does expect us to pick up the shovel. So we got to do our part in that.
Definitely two-way street.
It truly is.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know it's late.
thank you.
Guys, and thank you so much, Tonya. We appreciate it, friend.
You're welcome.
So
Take care.
y'all have a good night.